Welcome to the Prairie Street Culinary Kitchen, outdoor grilling version. We're having fun this summer, playing with our grill and playing with some open fire cooking. Today I'll be making a really cool new cut that we've just introduced. This is a boneless Korean style short rib. So if you're a fan of Korean barbecue, you've ever had kalbi, that's what this cut is. So, we work a lot with private chefs who have very elite clients, and they've often requested boneless items from us like this, and we listen. We love to do custom orders for our private chefs and our clients, and so, ta-da, here we have our boneless Korean style short rib. So you might only be familiar with the short ribs like that you cook on the bone and you braise for hours and they get tender and delicious. This is that same meat, but now it's been cut in between the bone and it's much thinner. So you can treat it more like a steak instead of something that needs a long, slow braise. So what I'm going to do here today is a classic Korean style marinated boneless short rib with grilled Baby Bok Choy and a scallion and radish kimchi. So what we're gonna do first is get this meat marinating. So remember, if you've ever seen any other videos with me or any of our other chefs, we always like to tell you to dry your meat off first. No matter what you're doing, if you're grilling it, baking, searing, marinating, always dry it first just to get off any moisture on the surface. And then I'm gonna mix together my marinade for this. So my marinade is just a couple of really simple ingredients. I have some soy sauce here, pour that in. And I have some sesame oil. Sesame oil is a very fragrant, beautiful oil. You use it as a seasoning oil, not a cooking oil. It's too delicate to cook with as a cooking oil. We always use it as a seasoning oil, and it's strong and it's very, very fragrant. So we have soy sauce and sesame oil. I'm adding a little bit of chili paste, any type of chili paste you like, your favorite hot, spicy chili condiment like that. We're gonna mix that all together. I'm going to add a little bit of sugar. That's gonna help this meat to caramelize on the grill. And then I have some finely chopped garlic and some ginger. So some nice finely chopped ginger goes in there. Just gonna mix that all together. And there we go. This is a great marinade for beef, of course, but it's also great on chicken. It's good on like darker oily fish. It's good on a lot of things. Okay, so I'm gonna grab that meat and I'm gonna put it in a dish to marinate. And you can marinate this for a quick 20 minutes. You could put it in your fridge and leave it for a couple of hours. You could even do it overnight if you plan ahead. Just gonna get that marinade on there. And I wanna rub it in all over on both sides. I'm just gonna use my hands. Sometimes I feel like your hands are just your best tools for things. All right, so that is good to go. We're gonna let that marinate for a little while and then we're gonna get it on the grill. All right, so let's get this meat on the grill. So I've got my grill nice and hot. We're using direct heat right on the grill for this. This is a pretty thin piece of meat. You wanna treat it like a steak. It's really only about an inch thick. So I'm gonna get that on my grill, just like that. And we're probably looking at about 4 to 5 minutes per side, but you always wanna check your temperatures with a thermometer. For a nice medium rare, I'm gonna take this to about 125 in the center. You do you with your meat, but I would recommend medium rare for this. So I'm looking to get some nice diamond marks on there, what we call quadrillage. You wanna see these beautiful crosshatch diamonds on there. At the same time, I can also start grilling off my Baby Bok Choy. This just has a little bit of a neutral oil on it, like an avocado or grapeseed oil, and it's very delicate. I'm just gonna get some grill marks, a little bit of wilting on that. You could serve this with any vegetable, really. But I like things like bok choy. They're kind of crunchy. It's a nice contrast with the meat. And it's a little breezy out here, so I am gonna close my grill just for a few minutes so that it doesn't cool down too much from the breeze. We'll check this again in about 2 minutes. Now, along with the grilled bok choy, I'm making a little bit of what's called like a water kimchi, which is just a kimchi that's not super hot and spicy. It doesn't use any chili paste. It's basically just a little bit of vinegar and sugar and salt. That's pretty much it. And a little sesame oil, if you like it. So what I've gotten here are 2 different kinds of radishes. This is a regular red radish, and this is this great vegetable called a watermelon radish. And I cut it in these little wedges because I want you to see how it looks like a little slice of watermelon. It's super cute and they're really tasty. And then I've also got some scallions in here that I've cut into about 1.5-inch lengths, just like that. Literally, it's just a little bit of vinegar. And this is rice vinegar, which I think is what you should use. It's what tastes appropriate. Little bit of sugar, just a pinch, and a little bit of salt. Oh, I can smell that actually grilling behind me. And another tiny bit of that sesame oil. If you want this one to have a little bit of heat, you can add a little bit of that chili paste too. Totally optional. Just gonna give that a little stir. Okay, let's go check that meat because I can smell it. Let's open up that grill. My bok choy are looking nice. They've got some color on them. I'm gonna flip those little babies over there. And let's rotate that meat now. Yeah, that's looking good. So I like to rotate it to get what I call quadrillage, those diamonds. So when I used to teach culinary school, I would always talk about how important it was when you grilled that you made diamonds and not squares. Because diamonds are more visually appealing. They look better, and of course, as we know, diamonds are forever. And you want your meat to look precious and valuable and beautiful. We don't want any squares on our meat. So I'm gonna let that go now for another minute or two, and then we'll flip. But I am gonna pull my baby bok choy off in a minute because that's gonna get done more quickly. All right, let's open up the grill. Taking the bok choy off first because I don't want it to burn. And you could grill any vegetable with this. Doesn't have to be the bok choy. It's just nice because it's an Asian vegetable. All right, let's flip that meat over. Now we've got our diamonds. Beautiful. And we're gonna do that second side, and I'm gonna just turn that so I'll be able to get into it with my thermometer from this angle because this is my thicker end. I'm gonna close up my grill there. I'm gonna give that about another 2 minutes. We'll rotate, and then we'll take the temperature on that. In the meantime, I just wanna taste my water kimchi and just see that I've got the right balance of salt and sweet and sesame oil and all of that. So I'm just gonna take a little piece. Oh yeah, that's great. That's perfect. But you know, if you're a fan of my videos, you know that what I like to say is always taste your food before you commit to it. Once I've committed this to a plate, I can't go running back out into the dining room once if I've changed my mind. So you have to be ready to commit. I know commitment is hard sometimes, people, but commit to your food. So that is ready to go. The bok choy is ready to go. I've got some sesame seeds and some sliced scallions. Those will just be a beautiful garnish on the plate. I have a clean cutting board where I'll be putting my grilled meat because remember, if I had raw meat on here, I don't want to put cooked meat where I had raw meat. Be careful about that. That's called cross-contamination. Okay, so now one more spin there. I'm gonna move here to a hotter, cleaner spot on my grill. Close that up. And in about another minute, we're gonna take a temp. Now this is a digital instant read thermometer. You can use digital, you can use analog, they're all great, but make sure you own one and make sure it's accurate. Because if you're buying really great quality meat, you want it to be perfect. And if your thermometer's not accurate, you could get an incorrect reading and then you'll be sad. We don't want you to be sad, we want you to be ecstatic about your delicious Prairie Street meat. So get yourself a good thermometer. It's temp time, let's do it. So you want to go into the thickest part of any cut of meat, of course, because that's going to be the last part to cook. Perfect. Okay, this is going to come off now onto my clean cutting board, and I'm going to let this sit and rest now. We always let meat rest. All proteins, after they've been cooked, they need a little time out. They need a little rest. That's for two reasons. One is that there's all sorts of delicious juices in this meat. If I cut right into it right now, while it's super hot, we're gonna lose all that juice onto the cutting board. We want that juice going on our plate and we want to eat it. So we let it rest for those juices so that they can kind of move back around inside the meat and not pool out. The other reason is that proteins continue to cook when you take them off of the heat. So I'm gonna let this sit and do what's called carryover cooking. It's gonna go up just a couple degrees because it's not a very big piece of meat, but you do wanna always consider that in with your cook time. So if you're looking for, let's say, a perfect 125, take it off your grill when you're more like 121, 122. And that's just about where we were on this. So we're gonna let that hang out, have a little nap, a little rest time. Then we'll slice it up and we'll get ready to plate. So this has come off the grill. It's had a nice long rest. It's relaxed, it's feeling good about itself. Let's move on with it. So we're gonna slice it up. Now remember, meat is muscle, and muscle is made of muscle fiber, and that's the grain in your meat. So on some cuts of meat, the grain is really obvious. You can really see it. We always want to cut against the grain, perpendicular to the grain. So on some cuts like this one, it's pretty clear. You can see it this way. It's like on a flank steak or on a hanger steak. You can see that grain very clearly. On some cuts, it's not so easy to figure out. So you really want to take the time to look for it before you cut into it. If you cut with the grain, parallel to the grain, your meat's going to be really hard to chew. It's going to be stringy. So make sure you look for that. Have a nice sharp knife. So important that you have a nice sharp knife when you slice meat. And because this is kind of a big piece, I'm first going to just cut it in half with the grain because I'm just cutting it into a more manageable piece like that. Look at that inside, amazing. Look at all that juice, yum. I'm gonna just set that half to the side because that's mine for later before the crew gets to it. That's my piece. And then we're gonna start slicing this up. So you can really actually see that grain. It's very clear and very obvious on this cut. So you know you wanna cut across it, perpendicular to it. So I'm gonna start from this end and nice thin slices. And when you're slicing meat, really try to not press down on the meat. Don't put pressure on it because every time you press down, you're pushing out juice. Use a nice sharp knife and cut in a very clean, smooth, gliding motion. Switch to that end because I can get a really nice cross cut right there on the end. And I'm just slicing. This is incredible. The only word I can think of to describe this meat is unctuous. It's kind of a crazy sounding word, but there's all that beautiful marbling, and now that fat has melted inside the meat and just made it like rich and like I'm drooling just looking at it. So we're gonna get that thinly sliced. With cuts like this, you wanna slice really thin. And I'm just gliding my knife. I'm not putting any downward pressure on the meat with that knife. I wanna keep all that juice inside. My hand is dripping here with juices. I will take my plate and I'm gonna lay those pieces. Oh my gosh, looks amazing. Just like that. Do a little fanning action there with that meat. Oh, I can't wait to taste this. And we'll put some of our marinated vegetables on there with it also. So just like this. Just that right there. I'm gonna get that meat on top of that. You wanna show off the meat. Remember that the protein is the star of the show when you're plating food, and so really show off that protein, especially when it's protein as good as Prairie Street meat is. That is your superstar meat. I'm gonna garnish this with a little bit of sesame seeds and just a few little julienne bias cut scallions. Bias cut just means I cut them on the angle. So just like that. And I'm gonna take a little bit of the juice from my kimchi and just put some of that on my bok choy and, I mean, come on. Does it get any better than this? This is my Korean marinated boneless short rib with grilled baby bok choy and a scallion and radish kimchi. I'm super excited. I know in every video that you watch with me, I say I'm super excited, but I honestly am super excited because this is all so delicious. So I'm gonna just slice off a little piece of that and eat it with a little piece of marinated radish. Let's do it all together, get a little scallion on there. I have no words. How many times can you use the word amazing, delicious, best ever? All the words. Speechless. So delicious. So good. It's so tender. It's a short rib. You'd think, oh, we have to cook it on the bone for hours in liquid. Sure, you can if it's on the bone. This is boneless, super tender. Cooked it to that beautiful medium rare. It's killer. I love it. And I think you will too. So thanks so much for joining me, as usual, here in the Prairie Street Culinary Kitchen. This is my outdoor version. We're doing this for the summer. I hope that you will try to make this with our beautiful new product, our boneless Korean style short rib. And remember, we have new video content every Sunday at 2 o'clock. Brand new videos from all of our chefs, not just me. And keep in mind, we have a brand new web address, prairiestreet.co. Check out all of our new products. We've got some very exciting stuff going on for you. And keep in touch. We'd love to hear from you. Grab yourself some of this, make yourself some short rib, and we'll see you again. Thanks.
Subscribe to our channel now and set your notifications so you don't miss our latest recipes and chef-led tutorials. Then head over to prairiestreet.co to shop for your next big meal.